Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So this is gonna be the last video I'm gonna do on CP. We only have like an upcoming debate, so I probably will have like 1-2 more debates or something, which I will probably upload, and that's it. Then this will be the last I'm gonna be commenting on him. If anyone has any questions that he brings up or they're confused about what he says, then inshallah let me know and I can respond to it in the comment section. So let's go through the last part of this video where he speaks to the Muslimah. He brings her up again.
Information and context. Sarah, she is saying that. Okay, Sarah. Sarah said that. His wife, and then Muhammad, he sponsored him. Hello? Yes, Sarah, you said I am not putting things in context. What does that mean?
Everything has a context. Like
what is the context that I can beat my wife and then I make her skin green as her clothes, and then I say that you have to sleep with a new husband so you can go back to the old husband? Go ahead.
Okay, so the hadith don't say about you can't beat your wife, so that's incorrect. So he's making stuff up. It's just that this particular case that he's talking about, the person came to the Prophet and he basically beat his wife, but there's nowhere he says that he was advocated or anything like this. When it comes to historical reports, we cannot isolate them. We have other hadith where it talks about we're not allowed to hit the wife. Let me show you some references. So here you can see a hadith where it says, it's in Tirmidhi, Sahih hadith, where it says, I enjoin you to treat women well, for they are like captives to you. Verily, you have no right to treat them otherwise, unless they commit flagrant immorality. If they do so, then you may separate from the beds and strike them without causing pain. So it's very clear that you're not allowed to beat them, because beat means hitting violently and hitting repeatedly, right? So this hadith is against that. So let's see some other reports. I'll show you some other reports about the Prophet where he rebuked people. See. So you see here, Aisha anha says, she says that the Prophet never struck anything with his hand, neither a servant nor a woman, unless he was fighting in the path of Allah, so in war. So here we see also another narration where it says, many women have come to the family of Muhammad sallallahu complaining about their husbands striking them. These men are not the best among you. So the Prophet is saying this, that these men are not the best among you. And then another report says, how does one of you strike his wife as he beats the stallion camel and then embrace her? And another report says, there was a woman that the Prophet advised her to not marry this man because he hates women. So he says, as for Abu al-Jahm, he frequently beats women. Rather, you should marry Osama. It's a Sahih hadith as well. And yeah, and then there's also another report here, which talks about the Messenger of Allah, the wife of the Al-Walid ibn Uqba came to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and complained to him, saying, "O Messenger of Allah, Al-Walid has beaten me." The Prophet said to him, "The Prophet has granted me protection." She returned later and she said, "He did not give me anything except more beatings." The Prophet tore a piece of cloth from his shirt and he said to him, "Verily the Messenger of Allah has granted me protection." She returned later and she said, "He did not give me anything except more beatings." The Prophet raised his hands and he said, "O Allah, you must deal with Al-Walid, for he has sinned against me twice." So you can see the hadith there, the reference. So yeah, there's plenty of other references as well. Let's go back to the video.
Go ahead.
When I say in context, I'm talking about historical context, right?
Well, this is historic. The story in front of us as it is. I read the whole story. I did not even cut a letter from it.
Right, so you do know that with Islam came the revolution of everything.
Like what?
Women quickly gained rights and inheritance in...
That's false. Women, before Islam, they inherit everything. Not only that, they used to be very rich. As an example, Muhammad himself, he used to...
Alright, so what she's saying is, he keeps cutting her off, but what she's saying is that in previous times, they were not, like when it comes to inheritance, even in the Western world, the inheritance never used to be given. So that's what she's saying. Now he's gonna just try twisting it and try to suggest, like he's gonna use an isolated example of Khadija and try to suggest that there was what do you call it, like general, like general prosperity for women. But before we go there, you also mentioned one more thing about halala, basically the husband, basically the woman who gets divorced, she has to go to another man to sleep with him. So let's go to that reference and I'll explain to you what that's all about. Okay, in Islam, when a woman is divorced 3 times, this divorce is irrevocable, so she can't go back to the husband. So once she's been divorced, which means that the husband cannot take her back unless she marries another man first. So, so the key thing here to remember is that divorce is such a serious thing that where you don't play around with. So you don't, you know, you can't just leave the woman and whatnot. So there's a lot of wisdom behind this. This is when this will make you take the marriage very seriously, you know. So the general misconception regarding this rule, right, is that marrying another person is not a solution provided by Sharia in order for the husband and wife to get back together. This is not correct. The meaning of halala is that if the woman, after being divorced and after observing the waiting period, wish to marry another man, she can do so. So basically, once she's been divorced, now she wants to marry another man, she can marry him. This second husband on his own accord, if he divorces her. So let's say if he decides to, you know what, divorce her after having intimacy with her, then after observing the waiting period, she can remarry the first husband. So now she can remarry the first husband. However, she's not allowed to intend this. So she can't now pay people to do this. She cannot. This link will explain anyway. So if basically she can't pay people to do this, neither can she arrange it, neither can she like pre-plan it and stuff like this. So it says here, should be borne in mind that this is not a solution provided by Sharia. Once 3 divorces are pronounced, the marriage is over and there is no getting together again. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud anhu narrates that the Prophet cursed the muhil, the one who makes halal, and the muhal lahu, or the one who is made halal. So basically, whoever does this acts, you know, tries to do this with the intention, like if he makes it clear his intention, then it's haram. According to the Hanafi madhab, if a woman enters into marriage with another man on the condition made verbally that he divorces her after consummating, the marriage is valid but severely disliked. Basically, she shall be sinful. They both will be sinful. Because of the aforementioned hadith, the woman will be free to marry the first husband. If a person marries without placing a verbal condition but had an intention in his heart to divorce her after consummating the marriage so that she can become lawful for the first husband, this marriage will be considered permissible. So if he was just gonna, I don't know, if he willed to make her free to go back to her first husband, then that wouldn't be an error because he's not verbally saying so, and the intention is to actually do a long-term marriage. So there won't be nothing like there won't be no error in this. And then there's some other scholars' opinion, which is that Imam Shafi, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, their view was that whether a person places a condition or conceals it, the marriage is not done. He's still a muhil, the one who makes halal, and if he thereby intends to make it permissible for the first husband, then he is cursed. So such a person will be cursed according to these 2 other imams. And then it says here, Umar radiallahu anhu actually punished the people who did this, the pre-planned halala. So he did this, those who did it verbally, and so yeah, it continues, talks about it a bit more. So that should be clear that it's haram to intend to go with another man and sleep with him and stuff. Okay, so let's continue.
To work for Khadija, is that true?
Yeah, but she was a widow, right?
She's a widow, which means she inherited her husband. Is that correct?
She inherited everything from her husband.
Yes. So this is she was not a Muslim woman. Is that correct?
I guess.
Okay. So women, they have their right, and not only that, she was the boss of Muhammad. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. So she have right, and she is a businesswoman. She have an inheritance. She is independent. She is the boss. What is next? Islam make the women wear a veil, became inside the box, and you.
Yeah, so veil is actually honoring a woman. It actually raises their status where they don't be people just don't glance at them. If you guys want to check a video out, right, type in YouTube, a woman walks in New York City, or something like this, right? If a woman walks for 24 hours if you're in New York City, if you look at that video, she gets catcalled, she gets harassed. A lot of women, they have psychological problems. So you can see like social experiments on this where some of them they fear to like they go out and stuff like this. So it's very clear like if the woman who like everyone knows that this woman is a person who abides by her religion and she doesn't like dating and stuff like this, then that's a positive thing, right? Because it will attract positive people and it won't attract negative people. So that's what the Islamic dress does, hijab and the jilbab and stuff. So also a quick reference for like the women were actually treated really badly in the pre-Islamic era is in the Quran where it talks about the child was killed basically. The child that was killed will be asked for what's for let me find the reference for you. I'll show you guys. Okay, so here's the reference, Surah 81, verse 8. It talks about and when baby girls buried alive are asked, and then verse 9 says, for what crime they were put to death, and then it says, and when the records of these are laid open. So the child will be asked for what reason you were put to death. This shows you the girls were put to death. If you look at historical context, we have many. We have like like testimonies in history in Sirah where this took place. For example, Umar anhu, he did this in the pre-Islamic era, and he was repentant towards that. And so this is very clear that they never had no rights to life, let alone any inheritance or anything like that. So just because there's an isolated example of Khadija, it doesn't mean now you're gonna apply it to everyone. With the Umar anhu, if you look at that historical report, you can tell this was for everyone. This was like something like a general rule because there used to be people who used to give young girls to get buried to a specific individual. So that shows you it's pretty general, pretty widespread. Okay, let's
You
continue.
called me first time. You said that the wives of the Prophet, they have no right to go around. They have to stay home. Didn't you say that to me? But before Islam, women, she was a queen. Women, she was a leader. Women, she was a counselor. Women, she was a businesswoman, as example Khadija herself. So Islam destroy you and make you just a
your proof that Arabia was this kind of.
What do you mean? You never heard of the queens in Arabia and other country around? Who is Cleopatra? Who is Zenobia? Who is
Now he's talking about historical people, and some of them, I don't even know who they are. We're talking about Arabia as it was. When we're talking about Arabia, we're talking about Arabia like during that period. We're not talking about hundreds of years before. He gives an example of Solomon. Solomon is like ages before. Hundreds of years before Jesus, before Moses, and so it's pretty silly example to give from years before.
Khadija? Is it Khadija? She was a businesswoman before Islam. What's wrong with you? Who is Qurfa? Who's there's many famous women in the history of Arabia. What are you talking about? There's many queens. So those are women. Even the Quran speak about Sulaiman flying all the way from Jerusalem over the flying carpet to see the Queen of Sheba.
See that? It gives the Solomon example, which is hundreds and hundreds of years before.
Queen of Sheba, not the King of Sheba. So after Islam, what is the Queen of Sheba? What happened to Yemen? Since when when the last time Yemen had a queen? Isn't it your prophet? He said that a woman, she lead her nation, they will never be successful.
Okay, I'll explain this hadith, which is about women being leaders. Just give me a second. I'll show you the reference. Okay, so this link basically explains why women have possess like certain talents and certain qualities which men have. Some of them the men have, some women only have. So let's go to the explanation of this. So it says women are means of alluring men. When a man and woman enjoy each other's company, they naturally become attracted to each other. Many times, due to their commitment to each other, they tend to lose sight of their motive in life and gradually engage in impermissible acts. It's for this reason that Islam has prohibited the intermingling of sexes and ordained the ruling of hijab for women. In order to be a leader, it is imperative for one to make public appearances, have authority, command, and be awe-inspiring, which are all lacking in women due to their natural disposition and the Sharia rulings which they are confined to. So basically, there's some Sharia rulings that, for example, she's not supposed to be intermingling. So these are some of the reasons why she cannot basically be a leader. And there could be like people that could just mock the woman due to a physical power, right? Generally, they're not physically when it comes to going up against men physically, they're not generally on the same level when it comes to physicality. So that's just a fact, right? That's just a general fact. So why would men who are physically strong listen to a woman? So this is one of the rules that it has a multi-layered wisdom. So in order to be a leader, so we've mentioned already. So Allah, or the All Wise, has sent many prophets who were all males, and never did He send a female as a messenger and leader to the people. And then the verse there mentions it. Then the Prophet ﷺ said that the people who elect a woman as a leader and trust their affairs to her will never be successful. However, women are allowed to select a representative from amongst themselves who will forward their cases, complaints, etc. to someone responsible. Hadith proves that a lady came to the Prophet as a representative on behalf of all the ladies and presented a case to the Prophet. Then the Prophet responded back by sending her back to the womenfolk with the answer to that case. So that should be clear. At the end of the day, it's an injunction from the Creator. So if you believe in the Creator, so you're gonna follow the injunction. It's not an illogical injunction. If He commands you something, you follow that. Because He knows what's best for the humans. Yeah, by the way, the Bible also mentions like women can't speak in church and stuff like this, which is very specific to women, you know. So there's certain laws where if she's defending her husband, um, if she defends her husband by grabbing someone else's private part, then the hand should be cut off and stuff like this. It's in the Bible. So it's a hypocritical stance that he takes, you know. So let's continue.
Which means forbidden for women to be a leader in Islam?
Okay, so what I'm talking about is from a legal perspective, right? So
Legal. Yeah, you said to me that Islam gave the women a right. Islam took all the right from women. Islam made the women a sex toy. As you see here, Muhammad is forcing the women to sleep with the man. She don't want him. Obviously, this is rape. The women, she don't want to sleep with the man. The man is beating her to force her to sleep with him.
So he never forced her in this narration. You won't find anywhere it says that he forced her to sleep with him.
Muhammad, he took the side of the man over the women, and he's forcing her to sleep with the man. Where's the right?
yeah, but you're talking about hadith, right? So what I'm saying
Doesn't matter. Hadith is your prophet words.
Right, so
And a very important thing is we can't conclude on a singular narration without having the background to the context. So we don't know. This is a few narrations that I've seen which doesn't have much background on it. So let's continue.
Are they oppressed to women? We don't have Islam. We oppress their wives.
okay, so does the Bible does it have any inheritance laws for women?
Sure, the women she inherit. Yes, the women she inherit in the Bible.
So he talked about inheritance that men get twice the amount, and the reason is that because the man's supposed to be the sole provider, so that's one of the reasons why he gets more. So okay, he's going to be spending on the woman, so it makes sense that the woman actually will be provided by the man. So let's continue.
The women in Islam, one man equal. Is that correct?
No,
What do you mean now?
it's not correct.
Oh boy.
So women and men are equal in goodness.
So we should be done now.
If we go in the Quran, one male is equal to two females.
In terms of inheritance, yeah.
So why you said no?
So yeah, I mentioned about inheritance already. That the inheritance you get, the child will spend on it, even if it's a brother, he will spend on
Two
it.
females. If male is equal to two females, and then he says to you, let me show you in Arabic so you can get a better understanding. It says, فإن كن نساء فوق إثنين. How we can divide?
Okay, so what I'm saying, right, when you're putting things into context, you should.
Same time as you see, the woman she is not allowed to be equal. Is that correct?
Is this in the Quran?
This is in the Quran, yeah.
All right, so from my knowledge, right?
So why the woman she cannot witness in the court in the case of murder? You tell me why. What is the?
Yeah, a woman can witness in the case of murder, so he's just making stuff up right now.
Wisdom.
Where
Qur'an make it clear that women, they can witness only in the case of borrowing money, as simple as she can be a witness and two women equal to one man.
So now you're talking about witnesses in court. When it comes to witness in court, their customarily, like their custom role was to not be like in when it comes to courts, they weren't aware much in the previous days, and so that's one of the reasons where she like also like women, they tend to, like if you look at psychology, right, they might be a bit slightly a bit more emotional when it comes to these kind of cases where there's a murder case or something like this. So that's due to this, right? Um, she needs another witness. I'll give you the evidences for this, right? Where I mentioned this. So she needs another witness, so the other witness can support her. So give her emotional support. She can also remind her what's happened exactly. So it's actually benefit for the woman, because otherwise the consequence would be that she would be lashed for giving false testimony if she forgets or anything. So that's a very it's actually favorable for women, because she's favored to have another person to support her. Let's go to some references. Actually, let's quickly finish this and I'll show you some references.
Okay, so when we're looking at it from that society's perspective, it was a
Keep saying it from that society perspective. Why women she cannot be a witness in the court? Why only in the case of money only? What if a woman she saw a crime? What if 1 million women they saw a man murdering a man? Why we cannot give them the right to be witnesses?
Can I finish?
Go ahead.
Okay, so in that era, this was considered like a feminist revolution. Women were legally allowed to inherit property. They got rights that they did not have.
Women, they were allowed to inherit full legally before Islam. Islam make it partially inheritance, not fully. So what is the revolution here?
I'm talking about Arabia. Okay?
I'm talking about Arabia too. Isn't Khadija, you are the one who just said to me that Khadija, she inherited the full money of her husband's?
Okay, so then tell me what government did they have?
Let's go. You know.
So yeah, he just hangs up on her. So let me quickly explain show you some references. Okay, so this is chapter 2, verse 282. It says, call in 2 men as witnesses. If 2 men are not there, then call 1 man and 2 women out of those you approve as witnesses, so that if one of the 2 women should forget, the other can remind her. Let the witnesses not refuse when they are summoned. So it continues. So the reason is here, it says, so it can remind. So it's actually beneficial that she doesn't get the consequences of lashing for false testimony. So hence, this other woman is there to remind. You know, the man. You know, in most cases, like when it comes to, again, it's a physicality aspect of it, right? When it comes to, will she be able to bear the consequence of lashing? And if you imagine a woman in that state, would people like to see a woman in that state? Of course not. So hence, this is preventing that by having another witness there, so it doesn't become into false testimony. Okay, so I think we've finished with this now, this whole series of videos, and so inshallah, then generally my videos, the rest of my videos will be just general reminders, inshallah, and just on different random topics, inshallah.